Welcome to Healing Your Families. Our theme is choices. We make choices every day, and I'm really excited for my guest today. She has some valuable information for families on choices they make as a consumer. So, her name is Jennilyn McKinnon. She's a grandma. She's been married for 32 years, and she has one husband, two grandchildren, 3 dogs, 4 horses, 6 grandchildren. She's been a registered nurse for 32 years and a hypnotherapist for 12 years. Jennilyn, welcome.
Okay, sorry about that. I had to unmute myself. So Emmylou, thank you so much for letting me come on this morning, or it's actually this afternoon. And welcome to all of those that are joining us and those that will be listening through the recording. And it's great information. And Emmylou has put together such a nice, very, very good program. She knows what she's doing. And as we are discussing choices today, it's so interesting, the choices that I've made in my life that have really brought me to this point in my life. And it's been some big choices and all made up by lots of little choices, I think. So it's good.
Tell us more about your background.
Well, so I got married really young. Right out of high school, I went to college to be a nurse. And that was back in the days when you could go right to college into nursing school. And that's what I did. So I graduated as a nurse when I was 20 years old. And in that same year that I graduated, I also got married. And in that same year, I also got pregnant. So it was like boom, 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 boom. So that's how I started. And it's been a great life. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but you look back at things and I wouldn't change it at all. And my career in nursing led me into a career in hypnotherapy. And in the middle of that, the great thing about a nursing career and the choice there was that I've been able to raise my kids and go around my schedule and work my kids into my schedule. And so that was always a really good, anyway, I love my kids. My number one favorite title right now is grandma. And that comes, of course, from you have to have kids if you're going to be a grandma. And I love being a grandma. And my little ones are just like 18 months old and a year old. So they're just at that fun stage where like, no, we love you. Let us come to you. Yep. And it's so fun. And I also, I do a lot with horses too. And I'll just mention that briefly because the horses have been, oh my goodness, I love my horses. They're like my therapy, my best therapy. And I'm kind of rambling a little bit, Emmylou. So
I was hoping you'd get to the horses. Tell me, you shared with me one of your favorite things to do.
That is my favorite hobby, is my horses. And I've loved horses and grew up around horses. And then when I got married and being a nurse and a family and kids, and horses are expensive, but I had the luxury of having a father-in-law that had a big ranch, and I seemed to collect his horses as they would come off the ranch and they couldn't work anymore. Then I would get his horses, which worked great for me because I just didn't have to do a lot of work with them, and well-trained and a lot of fun. And so I taught my kids to ride, and I still teach riding lessons. But in the middle of my stuff, I had the very unique blessing, and maybe not so unique, of being blessed with MS in 2015. So I went from a very active lifestyle, being a nurse and an athlete, and then MS showed up in my life. And I won't talk very much about that right now, certainly not on this, but the horses were a key element in me getting back my neurological system. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but they were such, equine therapy is a real thing. And they just helped me so much. So that, and the MS showed up in 2015, and I had to stop working as a nurse for a couple of years. And now I've combined my nursing degree with my hypnotherapy degree, and I do that part-time. But my the full-time love that I really have embraced and I'm moving forward with right now is something called Starfish Perks. And Starfish Perks is with a company that they've taken a model of using shopping. We all shop everywhere we shop, and they've been able to take this model, put it on an app on your phone, and then we transfer the money that we would be paying and spending with and using our credit cards. We use our phones and we pay through our phones, and it's the same as cash. And then the money that would go to the credit card companies comes back to us. So I don't know if I explained that very well. I kind of rambled through that. And Starfish Perks, it's kind of evolved. Maybe someone out there has heard about the Life app. That's what it was known as previously. And then they were able to put some more pieces in and went with Starfish, because a starfish has the legs on it. I think there's five star points on the starfish. But when a leg gets cut off, it can regrow regrow that limb. And that's part of the reason that they went with the starfish logo, is because we are growing and changing and evolving. And we're working with the American consumer, which is actually global. It's a global company, but right now our focus is in America and Canada. And as a company, we're growing so quickly, but the model is to take our spending, and instead of using our credit cards, we're using that spending to go with we use the app, which is the same as cash. So it's very, very easy to use at the point of sale. And then the money that goes to the credit cards, that would go to the credit cards from the merchants, and also what you would be paying, that 2%, 4%, you're getting back in Starfish Perks. So it may not seem like a lot, but we use our credit cards, and we're talking about choices today, and the choices that we make in the credit card companies. It's really, as we looked more into it, it's really a form of debt slavery.
It definitely is. And it's just a huge problem for today's families. I think we've developed the mindset that a credit card is, and some people use a credit card as their emergency fund, or even just, I want it, I don't have enough money now, I'll just put it on my credit card. And before you know it, you're thousands of dollars in debt, paying interest. And some families, young couples will get married, they get way far behind. And then it's like they spend the next couple decades trying to dig themselves out of the hole. It causes a lot of stress on families. So I'm really excited that you have this option, that it sounds like it's as convenient as a credit card, but give us an example of what it would look like.
Well, so like yesterday, I went to Smith's grocery store, and I got my groceries, and I'm at the register, and I did the self-checkout, and I pull up on my phone, and then I just bring up, I just push the little button of the little starfish on my phone. And then that goes directly into where I can make a gift card, and I select where I'm at. So there's about 500 plus merchants on there right now. So it's places, we have all of the Kroger grocery stores. That's a lot of grocery stores that we're talking about, all the Smith's grocery stores, and Safeway, Fred Meyer's. There's still a few Fred Meyer's out there. Fry's, if you've heard of Fry's, Albertsons. They all come under that Kroger umbrella. And if you go back east, and there are lots of Kroger grocery stores back east. So any of those grocery stores, we also have gas, and we have Amazon, ton of restaurants. So and we're just growing, but I want to go back to, I was at the point of sale at Smith's. So I bring up my list of retail, I put in Kroger's, and it brings up a gift card option. I put in the amount, the exact amount that I owe. So I put in that amount, then I push my little button and it generates this little gift card with a bar scan on it. And then I just took my phone and scanned my phone, just like I was scanning a loaf of bread. And it pops up and says,
So your
it's
Starfish
purchased.
account is connected to your bank account?
Yes. And so how the money works on that part, you connect it in through your phone, and it's all very secure. And so my account is connected to my bank, but it runs on an e-wallet system. So I actually take money from my bank. I work out my budget of what I'm going to spend, what I think my expenses are going to be for the month, or sometimes for 2 weeks. I like to do it in 2 weeks. And then I take that amount of money, have it transferred into my phone. So it works like an e-wallet. And then it's much faster that way when you're at the point of sale. So then when I'm actually there buying and purchasing, I just bring up the gift card and it takes it directly from my e-wallet that's already digitized on my phone. And I'm using that the same as cash. And then what happens is it gives me, and the merchants decide how much they're going to give you. It's anywhere from 1 to 2% up to 20%, but the average is 6% savings that you're getting back. And then you get that back automatically in perks that come back. It just comes back as cash back, and it shows up right on your phone. And I don't know if you can kind of see my phone there.
Yeah.
Kind of. Anyway, that's kind of what the plate looks like. And I probably ought to bring up a gift card so you can just see what that looks like.
Well, let me just point out the two advantages I see are, one, you don't have to carry around cash or credit cards and worry about them being stolen. And two, it actually, I don't want to say forces, but strongly encourages you to allocate your money and to start planning ahead and thinking, all right, I'm going to need to get groceries today, groceries this week, and some clothing or whatever. And and most grocery stores don't, at least that I'm aware of, don't really encourage, or they discourage credit card use. But how would this work? Like, okay, so this is what I'm seeing is they really want to get a new couch. They can't actually afford it. So that's when we're tempted to use our credit card. I want it now. I don't have enough money for it now. How would that work in the Starfish program?
Well, in the Starfish program, so you would have to allocate, you would still have to budget that money, because you are using it the same as cash. But there's also, you can save up your perks, your money that you get back, that cash back comes back to you. And there's a whole other side to this Starfish platform, in that there's a whole business based around it. So, because you can make even more money becoming a member. To become involved and use this platform is $60 for the year. And then that gives you access to all of the savings on it. And then there's also learning. There's an earn and learn portion to it. And so how are we going to buy that cash? We're going to set a budget and a savings plan. And the cool thing that, like, say, you're going to have, so regardless, you're going to be using it the same as cash. So we're going to have to work on delayed gratification.
Is that part of the training?
And that is part of the training. Okay. So in the Starfish platform, this whole earn and learn, it has a whole section that comes with it for the $60 a month, $60 a year. And there's a whole set of podcasts that will teach you the beginnings of financial literacy and education, personal development, and financial development, and then leadership for corporate development. And that gives you little small snippets, similar to like Success Magazine. If you had a Success Magazine come to your house and you get these little snippets, and they're podcasts, and they're adding to that every week. And the founders of it, their names are Chris Brady and Orrin Woodward. Some of you may be familiar with them because they have financial gurus in their own right. They both were millionaires, and they said, we want to do something that we can change the culture of America. And the goal with this company from the very beginning has always been to have 1 million families financially free in America. If we could do that, that's 1 million dads that are home raising their families, and moms that are home, and kids, and stability with families. That would change the culture of America.
That's huge. That's huge. Now, I just want to, I taught high school. And during my career in Utah, the state of Utah, I remember when our state legislature passed, changed the graduation requirements, and they now require a semester class in financial literacy to get a high school diploma. And I later learned that Utah is one of only 21 states in the United States that require financial literacy. So it's not being taught like it should be. We have, you tend to handle money the way you saw your parents manage it. And we have these, I loved how you said 1 million families where the parents don't have that stress of covering the bills. They've learned how to do it, so they're better consumers. I love that.
Well, they're just when dads are home with their kids and can be involved, it changes everything. As moms, we work hard. We do our best to be moms. We have a majority of single parents that are out there trying to raise their kids on their own, single moms, single dads. And it's not easy. And they need all the support that they can get. And so the goal, that's the overall goal of this company. And we're doing it through simply the beginning process of just changing your buying habits, getting away from credit card debt. Now, it's so interesting statistic wise, we have 20% of people, there's 20% of Americans, and this is from a Gallup poll just recently, that believe that they will never be out of debt. And so why try? So then it's very easy to just use your credit cards and keep racking up debt, because what does it matter? We're just gonna eventually die with our debt, pass it on to our kids, declare bankruptcy. And that's a really high percentage. We also have 65% of Americans that do not pay off their credit cards every month and that are just making the minimum payments. When you're buying things like that, say you buy your gas, and then you go into the store and you buy a candy bar. Well, that candy bar now, let's say it's $1.50. I remember when it was like 50 cents or 25 cents. I show my age, but let's say that candy bar is $1.50. So now you put that candy bar, attach it to your gas. So now your gas is on your credit card, that candy bar is on your credit card. And then if you don't pay it off, by the time that you actually get around to paying off that credit card, if you let it go 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, you've now paid an average of $30 for that candy bar. That was $1.25 or $1.50. So And getting back to the couch at Lowe's, like we want to go buy a couch and we don't have the money for it. Well, practice some delayed gratification, set up a budget. What is that going to take? And then start shopping and looking and for deals. And there's
setting money aside every month.
And budgeting and creating and setting aside what you want, and a savings plan. And compound interest either works for you or against you. And there are 3 laws to financial. We have the compound interest. Like, let's say, for example, I don't know if you've ever heard this before. Some of you probably have, but if you had a choice, we're talking about choices today. If you had a choice of a penny, I could give you a penny, 1 penny every day for 30 days. And that penny would double every day. Or let's say I'm very, very wealthy, or I can give you $1 million. So I have 2 sons, and I say, you can choose a penny every day that doubles every day for 30 days, or you can choose $1 million right now. Which would you choose? Which would you choose, Emma Lou?
Well, I know.
You know the answer.
But most people would say, give me the $1 million now.
Yeah, give me the $1 million now, especially if you want that couch right now. Then you're gonna go for the $1 million. But if you take the penny every day, as that doubles every day, like the first week you've got 7 cents, the second week 28 cents, the third week, and it does, because that continues to double. But at the end of 31 days, day 31, you have over $10 million as that accrues.
It's doubling that compound interest.
And
it's 100%.
Interest is either working for you or against you.
It reminds me of the quote, those who understand interest earn it. Those who don't pay it.
Pay it. Yeah. And so that's the whole model of the Starfish Perks. And it's just very simply changing your buying habits so that you're using a cash system through your phone. And the one thing that's different about this, I brought this up to show, because this is my Kroger gift card that I used at Smith's, and we just scanned. I just put my phone across the scanner and it scanned the barcode. Easy. And that's how I paid. And then if you don't use the whole gift card, the money is still there. And we have all of Texaco and Chevron gas stations. And so every time that I'm getting gas, I save 6% on going through the app.
Okay, now wait a minute. You would have to go in because you can't pay at the gas station, right?
No, I can. At the gas station when I go. Right. So when I go to Chevron, you have to download the Chevron app onto your phone. So I have the Chevron app on my phone.
Okay.
But then I bring up a gift card, and on my app that's for Chevron, that's the price that I'm paying there, and then through the Chevron app, they have it set up on the Chevron side that I choose the location where I'm at, the pump where I'm at, how much I'm going to spend, and then I use my gift card the same way.
So you can still pay at the pump.
And I can still pay at the pump, which is really nice because that's really convenient.
Okay. So you're learning financial literacy. You're learning how to manage money. You're avoiding credit card debt, and you are getting cash back. So instead of paying interest, you're earning.
Yeah, you're earning that money back. And then it also has a side of that with the business side, where if I share it with you, Emma Lou, then when you go use it, it's kind of like how Venmo is set up. They'll give you $5 every time you share it with somebody, right? Well, for this, the Venmo reward is like one time. Well, as I share this with other people, and this is where you can really build that residual income, it's because you build a team and you're building it as a team and as a business member, which is a whole nother section. So if you have more interest in wow, I really want to know more about what this is, and how I can really make money with this, because it's very simple. It's probably one of the easiest things I've done, just sharing with my friends. We take that the business component is such that they built a system and a structure that rewards every time I share it. So I share it with my friend. You go to like Taco Bell and say you get a burrito. Well, I get a bean from every transaction. And that compound interest and that residual, that grows and it compounds. And then there's more that comes through the perks as we've been able to build with the companies. And we have more companies coming on board with us because we have greater buying power. So we have places like Walmart came to us, Amazon came to us, these Lowe's, Home Depot. We have a ton of restaurants. And why are they coming to us and wanting to be on what we're doing on our platform? Because they want to be involved. They can see that something has to happen in our economy. Something has to change. And it has to be on a grassroots level. And so we're at the forefront. And there are other cashbacks apps that are out there, but what makes us different is how we've connected and built a community of like-minded people. And we have the additional learning and education system that goes with it. And I'm just scratching the surface on the education piece, because you could get the equivalent to an associate's degree if you took advantage of all of the education.
Oh, I agree. That training is valuable. And, this is a time when really, if they started saving, in your 20s, if you started saving money then, your earning potential would be so much greater than if you waited until you were in your 50s or 60s to start saving. And yet we have so many young families that are just living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And this would help with that. They provide the training. And as you mentioned, the perks that you have with Starfish, it dawned on me, those perks currently exist, but they all go to the credit card companies. It's all stacked, so they win. They're doing well. They're making a lot of money. And Starfish has come out with a system, so now the consumer can benefit.
Yeah, and so it's interesting that even 10 years ago, interest rates and on credit cards, like if you missed a payment, then your interest rate was like maybe 12 to 15%. Well, now if you miss a payment on most credit cards, you're looking at 30%, 20 to 30% on what you've missed. And that is where the credit card company makes up the money, and so that they can say, oh, use my credit card, use this Capital One credit card, and you're going to get 2% back on everything that you spend. Well, you do get that money back, but there's people that are paying for it. And so they balance it out, because obviously as a society, we are all paying for this.
And debt is so common, I think, and we just assume, like you said, it's part of life. We accept it. So kudos to those who are able to stay out of debt. They're so much further ahead.
Yeah, and our goal is we'd love to see a debt-free society. Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be wonderful. And you really do have more freedom. If you're when you work, you're trading your time for money. And a lot of families would love some kind of extra income coming in, and you have a way that they could do it and set their own hours.
Yeah, and
make phone calls while the baby's taking a nap.
Exactly. And the income is real. Anywhere, our first goal is to get you paying for, there's such a low entry to get involved. Start out with $60 a year, and then you can build on it from there up to, like, the most that I spend a month $300 a month for everything that I'm doing for my business, where the return, I'm getting a 800% return back. I mean, it's amazing. And so I guess the one thing that I really want to say is that the income potential is very real here. We really like to get somebody making money as quickly as possible. Within the first 2 to 3 months, our goal is to get them up to a $2,000 a month income. And even if you think of, my gosh, $2,000 a month extra income, that just residual, right? We're building a pipeline where the money can flow. So it's not something you have to repeat. If I go to work and I see a client, well, I have to repeat that the next day. It doesn't just come. Whereas this is a system for residual income where the money can flow. And $2,000 a month extra in a family income, that changes lives. Sometimes $500 a month is enough to change a life and a family, and to provide and bring that stress level down. So
It's wonderful. I love it. Jennilyn, how do people get a hold of you?
So if they want to check out the starfishperks.com, again, it's all one word, starfishperks.com, and it will show them a short video. And my name is Jennilyn McKinnon. They can also email me and I can send them a direct link, or they can just call me at 435, I'm going to say it slow, 435-237-7424. Again, 435-237-7424. You can text me, just say, hey, I'm interested in more information about the starfish. And I'll send them a short video, 3 minutes, that explains more detail of what we're doing. There's also my email, which is my last name and then my first name. So McKinnon, Jennilyn @gmail. And I know that Emmylou is going to post that on, she'll post that on her YouTube channel for those of you. But Starfish Perks, that's where you can really get more information. And you can just type in Jennilyn, Jennilyn, McKinnon. So I said that kind of fast, but you'll get more information on that.
Your name is in the
call
show
me.
description.
You can just call me direct. Just send me a text. That's really easy. That works great.
Jennilyn, thank you so much for joining us. And to my viewers, join us again next week at the same time. We'll be talking about choices you have in childbirth. And until then, love yourself, love your families. This is Emmylou Penrod at healingyourfamilies.com.